In the dark, I play my dreams. Permaculture flows like sweet streams. I'm the daddy with the know-how seed. Leading the world like it's meant to be. Permaculture, P-I-M-P, I'm the king. That's the love in everything. Bringing change, making it last. Join the permaculture.
Welcome to episode 366 of the Permaculture Pimpcast, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. The only pimpcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, practical living, and sometimes even prostitutes.
Permaculture, P-I-M-P, with soulful rays. In the Pimpcast, where we find our place.
Oh yeah, good to be here with y'all tonight. Good show that we got going on tonight. And guess what? We're going to have a giveaway tonight, so you're going to be digging it. This episode, as always, brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from TwoOldCrowsHomestead.com.
Turn that simp into a pimp.
Bam! Heaven's Harvest. Yeah, you can go ahead and check them out, and you can also check out Harvest Right. We got links for both of them down below. But we're going to talk to one of our other sponsors on this show, folks, and because they have a product that absolutely works. But before we get into it, I'm going to handle all the housekeeping up front while Will is over there grooming himself in front of this camera, making sure every hair is in line because he knows all these geriatrics out there are going to be gunning for him. So even though Pat's the oldest one here, it's all good. Hey, check it out. Eric Sider, you know, the pimp out west, he's got a permaculture. You can go to permaculturefairoaks.org. We have a link for that down below. That's where, you know, Eric has all this stuff out there. Anybody wanting to know how to do any kind of earthworks, you're going to want to be there. So go check him out to get more information there. Permaculturefairoaks.com or .org rather. Everybody asks, what does a swale look like? Well, you're going to figure that out with Eric. If you're new coming in right now, folks, hit that thumbs up. Tell everybody we're live so they can go ahead and start suppressing us. Because the powers that shouldn't be don't want this information out there. And folks, I got to be honest with you. I have to be extremely cautious today because we're on our second strike on YouTube. So we can't talk about anything that might help human health unless we kick it over to another platform. And I don't yet know how to do that. So we're going to talk about soil tonight, and it's going to be a big blessing to you, even though these guys are uniquely capable of getting you squared away, you know, with your own personal health as well. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to cover that part of it because YouTube just, folks, we got kicked off for 2 weeks because Barbara O'Neill mentioned something on the periodic table. I kid you not. Something that was on the periodic table. And then we got kicked off for another 2 weeks. So they were looking for anything. All right. Mountain Readiness is going to be coming up October 17th through the 19th. Both Doc Will and Pat are both going to be there. And folks, it's going to be in Harmony, North Carolina. I'm going to be out there as well. So I'm looking forward to hanging out with these guys as well and seeing a lot of you folks out there. This time I won't be teaching. I'm going to be there as a student. So Pat's going to show me how to choke slam somebody. And all right, Richardson Nutrition Center. That's one of our other sponsors tonight. Perma will get you 10% off. Coming at the end of next month, William and I are going to be out in Dallas at the Healing for the Ages conference. Perma will get you 30% off of those tickets out there, whether you do it online or whether you do it in person. You get 30% off with Perma. We're going to be there in live, and you know, we're going to get our education on. And finally, y'all, Wave Watch. Billy 100 will get you $100 off that watch. Has about 1,000 frequencies on it. I checked it for any weird things that may be going on with it. It pans out just fine. One of these days, maybe I can get Dr. Will to take a look at it as well. But I got to be honest with you, folks. Today, I was dealing with a little bit of anxiety when I had to go out and about. I put that thing on, put it on the anxiety section. And as you can see, I'm not in prison right now. I'm not locked up in jail. So I didn't have to choke down one of these hoople-headed Marchies out in Nashville. So that always works out good. All right, everybody in the chat, I want to thank you so much for being here. Like I said, hit that thumbs up. Tell everybody we're live. And Denise, want to give a hat tip to Renewed Homestead. You know the deal, y'all. If you're coming in here, you know, vibrant conversation is great, but don't start no SH and there won't be no IT. And Denise will send you out on the first thing of smoking. So with that said, I'm not going to mess around. William's here with me, along with Dr. Will Spencer, and also former UFC world champion and UFC Hall of Famer Pat Miletich, and also he's a pretty unbelievable trainer as well. Trained a whole lot of world champions himself. So, how are you guys doing? Let's start with Doc Will. What's up, Doc?
Oh, living the dream. Or nightmare, I guess. Depends on how you look at things.
Oh, well, we're going to go with the dream side of that equation. Pat, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. I think the world is going in a wonderful direction. I think that things are, flowery and great. And ultimately, all I see out there is opportunity for us to provide solutions for literally the entire planet. Certainly most of this country when it comes to soil health and creating bountiful, nutrient-dense food and healthy human beings.
Yeah, well, as far as the world being real peachy, boy, you would never know it when you look up in the skies around here because they are absolutely crop dusting us day and night. And I don't mean with the stuff for crops. I mean the human crops that they're out here hitting us with all the barium, the strontium, all those other things out there. But check it out, folks. When I say we got solutions here tonight, I'm here to tell you because remember a while back, and I just did another video out on that site that we used as a testing ground. We had the worst chemtrails ever. And despite all that, Soil Saviors brought it through to where we tested out with flying colors. As I recall, Dr. Will, I mean, I don't know that it could have gotten any better. I mean, I even applied 2 more applications since you tested it. And I don't think it's been that good in living memory.
It looks good on that video I saw that you posted. So the test show, it's pretty good. So I'm extremely happy with our whole entire effort on that piece. I am
Cool.
Couldn't be more pleased with your updated video.
Yeah, and that was them mismanaging the property. Just so you know, so everybody else out there knows that video that I just posted, I think it was yesterday. That video, when we went out there about a month and a half ago, these folks had basically left it alone for 3 months. They went on a vacation, for crying out loud, and nobody did anything. So when they came back, you couldn't even find the trees. Everything was so messed up. So they went out there and then did something very foolish, and they mowed it down to the ground. And of course, it's Kentucky frying a lot of the soil out there. So, well, William, you've taken Soil Saviors for a test drive. What's been your experience so far?
So far, it's been amazing. I've only had it in the garden beds for a short period of time, more than a couple of weeks, but less than a month. And I've seen fantastic germination rates on everything that I've seeded so far. Now, I did have a question for you guys. And what was the impetus into getting into soil biology? Was it any one particular teacher, or was it like a solution that you guys have found to soil contamination and everything? What was the
Go ahead,
the
Will,
catalyst?
and then I'll throw my 2 cents in.
Yeah, so I was brought up on a farm, and Dad had pesticide sprayers and 3,000 acres and a bunch of cattle, and I was sick. I had the what they termed summer flu every other week, basically, all summer long during the growing season. It just so happened to be right behind them spraying pesticides in the neighborhood, because our house was surrounded by the farm, and so that led me down the road. And then there's actually some books that you can get still. They're Rudolf Steiner's agricultural presentations, and that's what started me down the path of this other way of farming. And then I did some trials on my own with using biodynamic properties and processes and products, and I was sold after that. That was in 1993, and haven't looked back since then.
Yeah, and I guess Will and I have told this several times when we have given speeches or presentations together or podcasts, whatever, that Will and I both had the respiratory illnesses he spoke about and other illnesses growing up. I wanted to be great at athletics, and I was diminished greatly in my ability to breathe. And I was good at sports. I was very good at sports, especially in a wrestling match. I was really good for the first 2 periods until I was really suffocating. and then I would have problems. So I built strategies to build a big lead in the first 2 periods if I could, and then coast the 3rd period because I was just trying to survive. So the imprinting and the burning into my brain of my childhood down in southern Iowa on the family farms, and watching the elders on both sides of the family getting Parkinson's, cancers, dying, Green Revolution stuff, 70s, all that sort of stuff gets scorched into your brain from all of that. But finding solutions for myself so that I was able to do some things athletically and coaching wise and help athletes reach higher levels that most were not able to obtain. And looking into the soil, I guess 38 years ago, about a decade before that was when I really, it dawned on me and I solved my own health issues, which allowed me to start excelling. So my real impetus, my real motivation for this is what I felt like as a child, no child should feel like. And so when I look at kids that are sick, I know that there are solutions, and it bothers me a great deal, as if I'm supposed to be a warrior to protect society, protect the people I love and things like that, and build a better world for my children. Well, I should be solving problems, right? So that's really what it's about.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, son, because we have so many new people that are tuning into this, not only the live version of this podcast, but also we have our largest audience, which is going to be the people that listen maybe tonight or tomorrow while they're working. And they've never heard of these guys before. I don't know what rock they've been under, but they haven't heard of them before, and they don't know the incredible work that these guys are doing right now. So I'm glad you knocked that out right from the beginning. I got to know, because some people have asked. I've answered the question, but I think it would come better from you guys. Let's start with you, Dr. Will. How is Soil Saviors? How is it different than the other amendments that exist on the market? I know it's a rhetorical question, but I'd love for them to hear it from you.
Yeah, it's actually a 35-year build on a system to accomplish decontamination, increased yield, increased nutrient density, all at the same time. And so it's actually a combination of several of my mentors. One is left alive, everyone else has passed on. And then what I've done is taken what they did individually and put it together in a system that we're able to achieve this outcome. Just like the tests that you conducted, we're able to take barium and we're able to take metals of all different kinds and decompose them, remediate them, turn them into food for the plants that are living there, and never, it's called in situ, never remove any soil, just use the soil that's there. And so we can take the material that in Soil Saviors and grow in beach sand. It's actually got all the nutrients and all the not all, but it has over 1,000 strains of soil organisms, and it has nutrients that are extremely rare that are inland right now. A lot of sea minerals, biodynamic preparations, and so it gives the plant everything it needs to just excel and maximize its potential. So you can have tomatoes that are 25 ounces and taste like they don't really taste like a tomato like you get in the store, because the flat blah taste and all the air gaps and all that stuff is a sign of degeneration. So when you taste your food, it pops in your mouth. I mean, Pat has noticed it. I'm sure you have too, Billy. When you put the nutrients there, you're putting over 90 different elements for life. You're putting over 1,000 strains of organisms to do the work. You're putting elements, nutritional elements for the plant from different parts of the planet that all, when mixed together and deployed, just feed the plant. So that plant is a warrior, like Pat was saying. It's got what it needs to thrive in this crappy environment that we call Earth right now, and that's, to me, that's incredible. That's the whole system, the way it was envisioned years ago, and now we're doing it. So I'm really happy to be here and have you as on our team, Billy.
Yeah, it's a joy. As everybody knows out there, I was using this stuff for well over 6 months before. I'm going to mute you for a second there, Dr. Will, because there's a lot of feedback coming on your end. So I'm just going to mute you for a second because I'm going to go to Pat here in a minute. Anybody that has watched any of what we've done out there for 6 months solid, I never even told anybody what I was using outside of my extract. And you could see all of a sudden when we got into spring, and I'm seeing fruit sets on brand new blueberries that were put in, fruit sets on all of the fruit trees that we put out there, fruit sets on all these. You know what? A tree that's stressed doesn't prioritize itself by putting on fruit sets unless it's very, very happy. And I knew right then and there before the testing even came around, I'm looking at comfrey out there, and I videotaped it yesterday. Folks, we put in comfrey roots, and William will tell you that the size, I don't know if you've seen that video, son, but we put in comfrey roots out there, and that comfrey, some of it is 2 feet tall. I mean,
that's not normal. I mean, you can easily get comfrey harvests out of comfrey that you planted that year, but for that size that quickly, that's not typical.
This comfrey is so robust. If I were to go out there and dig it up and split it, I could probably make 60 to 80 plants out of one. That's how robust this stuff is. And it shouldn't be in that toxic soil if it were still toxic, but on either side of it, nothing's growing still. So, Pat, I want to kick it on over to you because we're getting in the hunting season, and a lot of people are going to be asking, is this product designed for, let's say, row crops, pastures, food plots, forests, food forests, where, and I know you just put out a recent short. Why don't you answer that question? Because I know a number of people are going to be asking.
Well, it's designed for soil. It's designed for plants. It's designed for the earth. It is designed to assist and install, I guess is the best way to. So when you think of the components of what's in the box, we have to think in terms of mycelium installation, bacteria installation, the mycelium, the bacteria, the extremophiles, the minerals, the ocean microbes, the microbes from different areas around the world, all these different components that are in the box, and you're installing it into the ground, right? And they are installing that nutrient-dense substance of bioavailable minerals for the plants to uptake right away, and the microbes to be able to start working on digesting whatever's in the soil, whether it's a metal that came from the earth, the crust below the earth, the geology up into these microorganisms to digest naturally, or the metals that happen to be there from above, from what the airplanes are letting loose, or any of those things. That's what this is designed to do. So, for instance, someone who wants to attract wildlife, you're going to attract wildlife because when you grow turnips and radishes and pumpkins and things like that for food plot for deer, most guys are obviously putting in NPK fertilizers, synthetics, and then they're spraying herbicides like crazy to control the weeds. And the deer are going to eat the pumpkins and the radishes and the turnips because there's nothing else. And what are they going to choose? The synthetic corn? Well, yeah, they'll pick some of that up along the way, whatever. But when you install this in the ground and you grow plants that are basically a beacon in the countryside, the animals find it. Every time we do this with food plots for hunters, the guys all say the same thing. There's like 30 deer on a quarter acre, all destroying a food plot that, this gentleman who's one of the best hunters literally in the world that I've met, and I've met a lot of them, very prolific hunters, been doing this for a long time, been doing food plots for a long time. And he can't understand why there's no weeds. He goes, I didn't have to spray glyphosate. I didn't have to do anything. There's no weeds in my turnips and my radishes. There's not, right?
Well, see, that's awesome. William, why don't you explain why we never see weeds in a compost pile, and it'll kind of explain why we're not seeing weeds when we spray this stuff out there.
The fungal to bacteria ratio is different than what weeds need to thrive. Weeds need bacteria dominant soils. Compost piles typically are at least 1-to-1 fungi to bacteria, not allowing those weeds to grow. Real quick, do you mind if I ask another question?
No, I was going to suggest, jump in
Okay.
anytime you want, son.
So the application of the Soil Saviors product, is that a permanent fix as long as I don't create compaction or anaerobic conditions, or do I need to reapply it after a certain period of time?
I got you unmuted, Dr. Will.
It's not a once and you're done application. So I want to take what you said just a little bit further because about the weeds, if we want to address that now or later.
Yeah, address it, please.
Because in the compost setting, it may be the microbials that keep things from growing, but out in the field setting or the environment setting, the weeds, what are labeled weeds, are really medicinal plants, and nature's trying to correct the imbalance. In a compost pile, you have an abundance of not just the microbes and a balance that's different than in the growing medium out in the environment. You also have an extreme amount of nutrients there in that soil. So there's really no place for weeds to grow because weeds only grow in an imbalance deficient soil. And so when you fix the deficiencies, the weeds go away over time. So you don't, we're putting a lot of these guys with their food plots, like Pat was saying earlier, they're putting quite a few applications on, and the weeds are going away because there's enough nutrients there to support the grasses and the other things that are not weeds.
So
So
in a nutshell, the weeds are only there because it's missing something, or you have too much of something, so they can't express themselves.
And the thing is, for which we're gonna be carrying this spring, is for people to be able to understand too, is long-term nutrients, the humate dry spreads, the other rock substances, the rock
paramagnetic materials.
I didn't know if you wanted me to use that word right away, but yeah, the paramagnetic rock, the sea minerals, the humates, things like that, for a dry spread for long-term nutrients in the soil, combined with the foliar spray.
The slow release would be the dry components. Yeah.
So then the microbes can work and digest and work on the paramagnetics and the humates and things like that for long term, and the diversity of the mineralization then is pretty high at that point, and that further ensures a lot less weeds, or as we see in the food plots and the videos that I put out, there isn't one weed in an entire half-acre food plot, not one weed, and there's no herbicides.
That's what I'm talking about. So we got a question from the audience. We'll kick it over to Dr. Will first. It says, if you're putting it on in pastures, how long should you wait before putting the livestock back on the? Basically, if you're putting it on a pasture, how long before you can put the livestock back on?
You don't want to leave the livestock off that property, because we spray when the livestock are right there. And I've witnessed the cattle running after the sprayer, sucking on the spray nozzle like a baby on a nipple. They're just wanting that stuff. So, I've sprayed because there's nothing in the products that are going to harm any mammals at all. So move the cattle or the livestock off, apply, and then you can let them in right away if you want to. It's not going to hurt them at all, and the moving around is going to help get the liquid, get that rubbed on and pushed in and whatnot. So
and to that point, they're going to go directly to where the nutrients were sprayed, of course. And that's been proven quite a few times, where 2 to 3 weeks have passed, where farmers have spread or sprayed strips in pastures, and then 2 to 3 weeks later let the cattle or the livestock, whatever that is, in, and then the livestock will stack on the test strips where the test strips were sprayed. 2 to 3 weeks later, they still obviously are going to pick up where the nutrients are. So
Yeah, I would also attest to that. With my sheep over here on the side of the mountain, or because they're a flighty animal, when I put the sprinkler out there, I got mine running through. I'll mix it up and I'll stick it in a what do you call those? IBC tote, about 300-gallon tote. And from there, I'll have it go down, and then I have a sprinkler that I just move around where I need it in the pasture. And these guys, ordinarily, a flighty animal with something like that, they're going to just take off. But no, they don't do it. So at the end of the day, I'm also seeing it would stand to reason that this is a far more economical way of getting some of the necessary nutrients into your animals, far less expensive than some of the high-end minerals out there. Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Will, but if I'm out there doing this, let's say, that 90 essential minerals and everything else is going to be out there, right?
Absolutely. And this is the best way to get it into the animal or your livestock, because it's going to be digested and run through the plant and the natural microbes that are there in the environment. And then that plant is going to be a much healthier plant full of the colloid minerals, because it's been processed through the plants and through the fungi and bacteria. So it's way better, because most of your mineral on the market that you're feeding to your animals is some form of rock dust, which is really not that digestible. And so when you spray our stuff, the soil savers, into the environment, and then turn your cattle loose, you're getting a much higher grade mineral and vitamin combination than you are getting it in a bag at the store.
It's going to benefit. It's going to benefit the animal right away. It's not,
right away.
So look at it this way. This is the way I describe. If I eat minerals that are not necessarily bioavailable, that haven't been digested by biology in the soil, for instance, I might get some of that uptake. I might get a little bit of that where I might be able to use some of it. It's probably going to be harmful as well, because it's not in a beneficial. So a lot less of something that's very usable and very potent and very effective, rather than you could put a mountain of minerals out for wildlife or for livestock or anything that haven't been digested by soil microbes. They might eat it because their bodies are telling them they need it, but ultimately their bodies aren't necessarily going to get much of a benefit. I equate it to this: when I'm training someone how to punch correctly, you can either haul back and put everything into it and let them know it's coming, or you can do it correctly and go bip and hit somebody with 1/10 the power and put them to sleep, right? So it's just much less is needed when you have potency and reality of digestion of, these elements by microbes.
Which equates to a much higher vitality, much livelier plant, and the animals can tell the vitality with their nose. That's part of the instincts that they have. That's why they gravitate towards that area. It's not just the nutritional value. You've got the energetics, the etheric, the vitality side of this as well. That's part of that beacon that shines, and not necessarily you see that, but the animals can sense when things are high vibrating and very nutrient dense. That's the draw to that area where you use the products.
I've mixed up a 5-gallon bucket of that stuff and gave it to the sheep to drink. It was pretty. I didn't fill up the whole thing, but we have 3 different buckets out there. One has regular water in it. One has another substance in it that I can't say on YouTube, or they will cancel this video. The first part of it begins with, I better not even risk it, so I'm not going to say it. But the other one, I did take some soil saviors, and I had some left over I made about a 30-gallon batch, and I had some left over. I said, you know what, man, just for GP, let me go ahead and put some into the chicken water. Let me put some out there for the sheep. And I don't know that we've done it for the dogs, but I know that they absolutely decimated that bucket. That we had it in there. I meant to tell you that a while back. I did that one maybe, 6 months ago, I think. And they went absolutely to it. So I was like, okay, we're just going to see how far this stuff can go. So if anybody's, Doc, is that an application that's okay for people to do? Because apparently these guys went for it, man.
Well, there's a lot of beneficial stuff in there. There are some things that are really much better just given to the soil. If you take many doses of that over a long period of time, you may have some digestive things going on because the plant's digestion in the soil is much different than what goes on into a mammal's digestive system. But they will, if you offer it, I've never had a time that they didn't go and just suck that down in the water much faster than any other water options they had available.
Hey, folks, if you have questions, please put them in capital letters because it's difficult to see on here. So we got a couple of them here. And son, if you got anything, just go ahead and jump right in.
I can read off this one question. They've been waiting for a minute. How much product should be allocated for 15 acres of paddocks? And then she also says, one other question, will it also help eradicate the bull nettle and dog fennel? Seems we had a lot of both show up in our pastures this year. So how much for 15 acres, and will it eradicate basically a different variety of weeds?
So they could buy a 40-acre box and obviously treat that, at least they're going to get 3 treatments out of a 40-acre box. They're going to get 3 treatments. They're also going to probably want to, at some point, start spreading some dry spread minerals, things like that, which we can get that solved for them, and we can hook them up with that. But Will, as far as the bull nettle and dog fennel, I mean, those are what the soil is missing: calcium, magnesium, iron, and what else in there? I know there's some vitamins, obviously, like vitamin A, and
I usually just test
impacted, probably.
Yeah.
But
calcium and iron and magnesium and things like that are low, and that's why those weeds are there. So,
and low vitality on top of it. So
well, there's definitely high compaction. It's probably definitely, would you disagree? I bet money it's overgrazed.
Yeah, bull nettle here, if they are anywhere near me, bull nettle here for sure is just not proper grazing rotations. But if you're buying land here, 90% of the time it's going to have bull nettle on that land.
Yeah, and that's like Dr. Will said a minute ago. I mean, that's an open indication that, number one, you want to get your management strategy squared away. That's not, none of this product does any good if you maintain poor management strategies. I mean, if you go out there and leave them until there's nothing but dirt, you're going to have problems. I can guarantee you that. But if you can go out there and learn a high density rotational grazing strategy, you are only going to kick this stuff up on steroids. So that's why I'm saying it's not a panacea and that it'll solve all your problems, but it's definitely going to put a Band-Aid on them. But if you can get other things correct, it is going to be a combat multiplier that you're not even going to believe. That's why I was trying to explain to the people out there in that site that if we were able to introduce some animal systems into this place, it's something as simple as ducks, you can find out. I mean, in one area, I went out and shot another video yesterday. Hopefully I'll get that out in a couple of days. And you can see the difference in the area that was managed well and the area that wasn't. In fact, the area that wasn't managed well by the people there, it feels as if you're walking not necessarily on concrete, but it feels like compacted ground. The area that was managed well, it's like you're walking on a mattress. And that's where you got it. You want to make sure, folks, we talk about it all the time. You can buy all the soil savior in the world, but it's not going to ultimately make up for really, really poor management strategies. I'm not dogging you out there, but I'm just saying it's an open indication that you definitely need to, you either have way too many animals out there or you're not moving them enough. So you want to get those things in order.
Sorry to interrupt here, Billy. I was waiting for you to finish. So Ken and Amy from Mountainside Homestead, he said, my ewes still go to my test area of the paddock. Remember, he did the films,
right?
And had sprayed his pastures with some test strips one side and all of that. And obviously his ewes went to where things were sprayed with the product. And that's pretty cool. If they're still going there, was that in the spring or early? That was the early summer, at least from what I remember. Okay, so we're in October and they're still going there. So there's still some good stuff happening. So
Yeah, Ken and Amy, I don't know if Michelle ever sent it to you. I got a box I need to get over to you. I don't know if she sent it to you or not, but I know we were supposed to send you a box of it. Anyway, we'll get that squared away if we haven't yet. Son, what is there in the green? Because I can't read it with these glasses.
It's from Teach Treats. I get a lot out of your vids. Sent an email. Thank you so much.
Well,
Now I do have another question. So some people that are watching this have like raised bed gardens, and that's the extent of what they're growing. And it might be, and I know you guys sell like an acre to 5 acre box. Now what if they don't even have like they're only going to do so much math. From experience, they're only going to do so much math, especially once it comes to like metric and fractions and stuff like that. Can they over apply this stuff to their soils? So if they had like, let's say 500 square feet of raised beds and they applied like the acre dilution to their beds, would that be an issue, or are they good to go?
I mean, you would potentially shock the plants if they came from Lowe's and they're, grown on synthetics and things like that. But I'll be honest with you. I mean, the soil and the plants need nutrients so severely that, I mean, it's hard. It would be hard to do. I don't think people that spend the time, growing food on their own aren't capable of doing math, right? I know that I was just watching Idiocracy again last night, guys. I had to watch it again. I saw it on Netflix. I really don't watch TV. I saw it on Netflix and I went, just to remind myself of the world we're living in and the comedy. Let's all do it. But anyway, going back to, look, you've got 5 acres worth. Take that down to 1/5 of each one of those bottles and bags is 1 acre. Then divide that in half for a half acre, and then divide that in half for a quarter acre, and then divide that for an eighth of an acre. So everybody can do that.
not everybody.
Not everybody.
Well, they're not going to make it, Billy.
Pat's an optimist.
Billy, they're not going to make it, and that is called natural selection, bro.
Bro, there's some hoople heads around here that honestly, I had this question because there were some other people that were asking me about it. I'm like, okay, well, the directions for let's say, like for example, 5 acre box, you're given directions for 1 acre. And of course, like, I'm glad William asked that question because people have asked, well, what if I put too much? Well, I can tell you right now what happens when you put too much. I forgot about when Dr. Will came out, he tested down by the river, which by the way is still awful. And people are going out there fishing. If they're catching anything, I don't know what it is. Maybe the creature from the Black Lagoon. I don't know. He tested down there. He tested at the first lower level, he tested at the higher level, and then tested at the highest level. The best one that tested out there was the area where I dumped a whole acre's worth on about the size. I mean, somebody called up. I remember I was out there doing it by myself that day. Somebody called up. I don't remember what happened. I got distracted and I dumped nearly 300 gallons of this stuff in an area the size of, and I kid you not, the area that tested out the best. When I say, I'm talking like I probably dumped 300, well, it may have been 200 gallons at that point. I dumped about 200 gallons of this stuff in an area that might have been a 20 by 30. So as far as, and that area tested out better than anything. So I was like, okay, I guess you can't screw this up. I mean, but I guarantee there's some hoople-headed Marchie in Asheville, I guarantee, would somehow mess this up.
Yeah, I ain't asking for no reason.
Well, let's talk about some options or possibilities because
You mean from the toilet? Sorry, go ahead.
So you were just putting it on soil for the most part, right, Billy? You weren't putting it on food production of plants that are for food production.
No, at the time, the only thing out there was dirt. It wasn't, I wouldn't even call that stuff soil at the time. It was just plain dirt. Now it feels like you're walking on a mattress.
Yeah. So on the soil, in that situation, you're not going to really notice any negative effects. But if you put too heavy of a concentration on growing plants, you could risk the possibility of stressing them. And when you stress them, they do some strange things. They'll stop. They'll just stop. They won't grow anymore for a little bit until the environment gets a little bit more balanced. They'll sometimes go into exaggerated things like exaggerated flowering or exaggerated growth. But sometimes that's why, if you're going to mix up, let's just say you've got only a few 100 feet and you're going to mix up a quarter acre, and make sure that you dilute it down a lot more. If you got a little extra product to use, always err on the side of caution to dilute it down a little more. You can put on a couple of different applications over the same ground in the same day if you dilute it down, because you don't want to shock your plants, because too much of a good thing is still not a good thing as well. And you don't want to shock them. So that's the whole goal. And so the stuff will keep for a day. So if you mix it up and put it on, then you can put it on another batch the next day, and then dilute it down again if you're going to put extra like that on with repetitive back-to-back applications, so the plant doesn't get so stressed.
We got a question here, but also before I get to that question, I want to also ask, let's say somebody, okay, I have all the necessary gadgets and gizmos and everything to really make the stuff, to make life easy for myself. Let's say a person has nothing more than a 5-gallon bucket. Walk me through what that looks like. I mean, and is there a proper way? You talked about biodynamics a little bit. I mean, when they stir this, walk me through how they basically put all this together, because some people may be intimidated when they open up in a box and there's 7 different products in there that they got to mix together. Is there a procedure in going about how to do it? Should one be added first, second, third? How do you stir it? The whole 9 yards.
You want to take that, Pat, or should I?
No, I can do it. All of the products obviously are ready to go in water. We want the water to sit, if it's city water or chlorinated water, so that it off gases, some of the harmful elements of that, of course. Let it sit for 24 to 48 hours, that water. What I do out here is I will either use it as a foliar spray, or I will literally mix up a 55-gallon barrel of it, 55 gallons of water, and I will just take 5-gallon buckets and scoop them out of that, and I will walk out to the garden and over to the orchard, things like that, and I'll just water each plant. Like when we got biblical levels of rain here up in the Dakotas, everybody's gardens was failing. Like all the gardens in the area, people are like, my garden's done. It got washed out because the nutrients got diluted. Whatever nutrients they had got diluted, and the plants just couldn't support themselves, and they just fell apart and died, right? It's like the lady that died in the radio contest for who could drink the most water. She drank the most water, and she died because she diluted the nutrients and the electrolytes in her body, and her heart stopped, right? So all I did was walk around and do the once-a-week treatment that I normally would do anyway. And the more rain that came, the more the freaking garden and the orchard trees and everything else exploded. That's all it was. I didn't do anything extra, didn't do anything fancy. Yes, you have to stir and mix it in and things like that. But there were times where I had to go do other stuff. I got it all mixed in and blended, and I would come back to it and stir it for like 3 minutes and then go take care of something else and come back and stir it a little bit more and let it bloom. And then I just take the buckets and turn it loose. It'll do it. It'll do the magic for you.
So there's a way to stir. So I like to put in the bucket when I'm mixing up about 1 or 2 gallons of water first, and then there's really no necessary order to add the ingredients. There is if you want to maximize it, then the list in the paperwork is designed that way. If you're going to put anything, put the first one first, the second one, and then stir a stick. It don't really matter. You can use your hand, whatever. If you're wanting the energetic side of it, you want to stir it like for 10, 15 minutes one direction, and then go the other direction.
Okay.
for 10, 15 minutes. If you would do that, so what you're doing is you're creating that vortex, and then you're creating a bit of chaos, and then back to a vortex the other direction. And so you can amp it up a little bit better that way. You don't need to. We've got people that just put the stuff straight out of the containers right into their big ag sprayers, and just go out and deploy it and still get amazing results. So you get a little bit better results if you do the stirring, take the time to do the stirring. Plus, most people need a little bit of shoulder exercise anyhow, and so spend an extra few minutes. You're going to get a little better return for your investment of time.
And some people will use aerators. Some people will use actual vortexes.
I don't like using aeration at all. I'll tell you why. Because we have anaerobic and aerobic organisms in there, and so we don't want to over oxygenate the environment in there, because when you do that, then you could diminish some of the other organisms. That's why stirring lightly is still going to be your best bet. I do not like the air stones and the bubbling like that. To me, that's unnecessary in using our system. Maybe with other compost teas and stuff like that, but you don't really want to do that with ours, because we have a very large variety of organisms that you don't want to create a too high oxygen or too much air to throw off the balance.
Okay, that's making sense, because I know that you probably have a number of facultative organisms in there, and if I go hitting this thing with too much aeration, these guys are going to be getting some bad signals and may not even make it, to be honest with you. So, okay.
Yep.
I'm glad you pointed that out. We got another question here. Amy B asks, how near a water source, is a very good question, or pond or creek or something like that, can the product be applied?
Right up to the water source. There's nothing toxic here. Like, I've even used this. I've even poured it down the well because I didn't have anything else. We were in an emergency. I was standing there with a guy that he had an imbalance of infection basically in his well, and so I took 5-gallon bucket, mixed it up. I just dumped it down his wellhead, and it neutralized the infection, and the water, the cholera or whatever the heck it was in there, it was gone.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing is I had a long time ago with one of the components in this, the conversation was, well, what if a storm hit the storage facility and knocked all of that product into the creek? And I go, but the fish would get healthier? What do you want me to say? Wherever the stream goes into the river, the Mississippi, of course, I grew up by the Mississippi. I go, we'd heal that part of the Mississippi. That's what's going to happen. And he goes, it's no, that, and I go, you're programmed by chemicals, bro. You're programmed by chemicals. That's not how this works, right?
That's one of the biggest sells, as far as I'm concerned, on this, or one of the biggest hurdles, I think, in our reductionistic worldview here in a Western culture, is everybody's okay. Well, I got this. I need this pill. I got that. I need that chemical. I got this, and you're not approaching this thing in a reductionistic way, and that's basically what our whole culture is built on. So it's trying. The part of this podcast is trying to rewire everybody's mind to realize that, hey, you know what? You don't have a cricket problem. You got a lack of turkey problem. You don't have a weed problem. You have a lack of nutrients in your soil problem. And that's what we get down to, folks. That's exactly the way you ought to be looking at this. Steve Baker asks, is this product a 3-part kit? No, actually, it's about 7. Am I mistaken? It should be.
There's 7 components, 7 ingredients that you mix in the water. Yeah.
Okay. And then he's also asking, William, is this what you were mixing up last week?
Yep. I was mixing up the Soil Saviors product in conjunction with some compost extract and applying it to my raised beds. Now I have a question. I do a lot of consultations for people generally in the zone 6A, 6B, so pretty mild winters, not very often some snowpack or anything like that. If they were to get into larger scale grazing and or main cropping, either one, is there a best season to apply? Let's say they worked this into their fertility budget yearly. They're just going to apply this stuff every year until they figure out their rotations on animals or plants. Is there a specific season that works best for application? Is there like a season that'll work with the organisms that you're inoculating the soil with?
I think it's just going to come down to soil temp, right, Will?
Yeah, the only time it's not you don't want to waste your time applying it is when the ground is frozen. This will work from freezing, just above freezing, all the way to 130 degrees. So it doesn't matter. That's your temperature scope. So you're in a 6A, a 6A zone. You're pretty much going to be year round. I mean, obviously, in the middle of a snowstorm, you're not going to want to do anything, just if you have a freak snowstorm there. But any other time, doesn't matter the growing season. It doesn't matter the time of year. It doesn't matter the growing stage of whatever. If it's before you seed, after you seed, two leaf growth, hip high. It doesn't really matter. The plant is going to use it for whatever stage of growth it's at to maximize that stage. So there is no wrong answer other than that snow freezing, ground completely frozen kind of a scenario.
Yeah, where Pat's at. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is here's the interesting thing too, on top of everything else with the biblical amounts of rain, is the garden here was planted 5 or 6 weeks later than everybody else. So you can imagine that the garden being planted 5 or 6 weeks late in North Dakota, 2 hours from the Canadian border, and it still destroyed everybody else's gardens by comparison. There's nothing that even comes close. So that's a testament by itself, right?
How's your ripening days now on your produce? Because I haven't talked to you in a while. How are you doing? Are you with normal? So you went in late. And so then how is the growing season now? Are you still late, or are you on time, or maybe a little early?
The beets were all out of control. They were massive. They're, like volleyball sized beets, and the onions have all been harvested. The corn's all been harvested. The sweet corn, of course, which was planted 6 weeks late. Tons and tons of tomatoes. All the carrots are gone. We've pulled, all those things, and the carrots were all.
So you're right in. So you went in the ground late, and this is normal harvest time anyhow for all those things.
Exactly. Yeah. No, if this was planted 6 weeks earlier, we wouldn't have been able to find enough jars in like Fargo to, it's kind of a blessing actually that we planted late, because it's still out of control. So, I mean, there's the tomato plants out there. We have 2 rows of tomatoes. Probably 14 tomato plants this year of different types, and there's still too many. I mean, there's so many. We pulled in one picking last year when the garden was planted at the normal time, in one picking from about 16 or 18 plants. I'm not joking either. I mean, a total of almost 4,000 tomatoes, 3,000 something. So
Wow.
A lot of them were given away. Let's just put it that way. But we've got mason jars. The whole basement's full of mason jars. So,
well, that's a good place to be. To that point, I want to also add that, I guess in an ideal setting, you would love for the ground temperature to be at least 60 or above when applying this stuff. But we did it through the dead of winter right here in North Carolina, with a level of toxicity that was so far off the charts, folks. And in fact, when I was out there yesterday on site, I was out there. I was with. I bought a new product, okay, and this thing will help me make extract on a level that it's right off the shelves, y'all. I'm like one of the first ones to get this thing. And instead of making compost extract, where I take the compost, stick it in a 400 micron bag, put it in the water, do the whole thing, it has an auger that does it all for me. Well, I met these guys out on that site, and I was like, wow, man. I sat there looking at it, and even though it was totally mismanaged, it's been so forgiving, because all of the trees, all of the things we put in there, despite the fact that the ground cover, or we can call it grass, was completely mismanaged, and it looks like a wreck on the grass part of it for most, not all the site, but part of it. But folks, keep in mind, all the heavy lifting here was done during the winter. It was all through the winter. And what I didn't tell everybody about is that when Dr. Will was testing this thing remotely, it had already was pretty darn close to the finish line, honestly, within 3 months. I didn't tell everybody this. I mean, we were almost
through the winter.
Right, through the winter at a time where your microbes aren't, it's not the best thing in the world for, I know, at least my compost extract, but we had almost crossed the finish line before winter was out. We were in March and this thing was already testing like nearly to the finish line, as I recall. And that was 3 months. And then it was another 3 months before I think you'd made it boots on the ground out there. And we're like, okay, wow, we didn't just cross the finish line, man. We like leapt across it. I mean, this thing is just absolutely fantastic. And you can see the evidence out there today. So I was being extremely cautious when I told people 6 months, or I told people even a year, like it can be done in a year, because I'm still struggling with the fact that of trying to get people to believe that we've actually took some of the most toxic ground around here. And honestly, Will, to this day, you can still smell. There was a guy down there that was with me. This is where I was going with this. He was with me yesterday and he says, man, do you smell that? And I was like, yeah. He said, dude, this is exactly, that river smells exactly what it smelled like at Hurricane Katrina when he was down there volunteering. He says, you're telling me this thing is cleaned up and that river still smells like that? And I'm like, yeah. And people are floating that doggone river. I can't believe it. And he's like, wow, you're telling me this thing. And then when he got up there, he says, I see what you're talking about. It feels like I'm walking on a mattress. I'm like, that's exactly what it ought to feel like. I mean, you know, everything's working like it ought to. So in the areas that were managed well. So to the people out there that are wondering, will this work through the winter? Well, I got the goods. I got the proof, because we crossed the finish line, honestly, right after winter was over. So in 3 months.
So what's the zone there, Billy? Is that how close to 6A are you that William was talking about?
That is 6B, aren't you?
Yeah, well, technically 6B until they change it again. But because we have so much topography here, you know, for every 1,000 feet you go up, you gain technically a latitude north. So it depends. I mean, in my property alone, we go from 6B to zone 5. Which is a good thing, because now I can grow apple varieties up here that I can grow in New York. So it's a plus and a minus, but the cool thing is it doesn't matter. This product works no matter where you are. So and I've done it unfortunately in the worst time of year. Go ahead, son.
Another question. This one, I'm going to piggyback on this, but Bella Vista Farm says, what is the cost of the 40-acre box? Now, I did do a video, was it about last week, of mixing up the soil savior product and everything, and I left the your website link down below, and some people clicked on it. They were trying to buy like a 1 to 5 acre box, and they're like, hey, why am I having to sign up for a ministry? So do you want to go into detail about like the benefits of doing the ministry route, why you guys went that route, and how it's not like you ain't signing up for Satan stuff?
Look, this is here's what we're saying is that what we work with was given to us by our creator. No matter nature, creator, whatever it is you believe in, doesn't matter. You're not signing up to be part of what I believe in, besides the fact that we should be using all natural substances, nature put back into nature to bring back nature. That's all that really is. And what that is an agreement between us that we are going to conduct business together in the private and not the public. That's what people need to understand, that because of my beliefs and your beliefs in creation, in a creator, and that we are using the creator's tools that we understand, we're going to work together to fix your soil. And we're going to fix the nutrient density. We're going to solve the problems for you through the power of creation and nature. We're not working with stuff that was created in a laboratory. That's what we're doing. So
on a level of legality, we're protecting ourselves from working with some entities that you really don't want to be involved with right now. And so it's a private contract basically that says we're going to provide these products and services to you, the ones that you're going to be basically buying, and you're a member of this association. I look at it more of an association than a ministry that way.
Sure.
You have you shop at Costco or Sam's Club. They're a private business, like they're a private membership association as well. It's not a stretch. I mean, this is nothing new. It's just people aren't used to being on the web, I guess, doing this, because everything I've been doing since 2006 has been in the private, and so it's just, you operate this way. It's a much cleaner, much less intrusive from these different so-called authoritative bodies that want to intervene and try to steal your data and things like that. So this is just a much simpler, cleaner. It's called operating in the private, not in the public.
And that they are, it clearly says in there that they are not acting in a manner outside of the individual as well, and not as acting as an agent or any other, official position within anything that could potentially try to do harm to the good that we're trying to implement across the country and across the world. So
Yeah, so Bella Vista, as far as the cost of some of this stuff, and the number of people are probably going to be asking that stuff, I'll put it this way: it's a whole lot cheaper than buying amendments.
Yeah.
Some people have written back to me saying, "Hey, this stuff is a little bit pricey." I'm like, "Well, go out there and see what it costs." Okay, if you do a cost-benefit analysis of what you get out of this by putting biology in the system, as opposed to putting salts in the system, which is exactly what you're doing when you're going out there buying the stuff made through the Haber-Bosch process or whatever the case may be, you are modern farming for the most part, like Jeff Lawton often says, is more akin to mining than it is actually farming. So first of all, you're money ahead by buying this product.
mm-hmm.
And honestly, if it didn't work, I wouldn't be telling you about it, folks. That's why I tested this stuff for 6 months before I even told anybody what I was doing. And honestly, I was incredulous at first because I had done 14 beds that were contaminated, and I still haven't even shown people what that was all about because we'd already done the harvest out there. So of the 14 contaminated beds with, it was a combination of glyphosate and also some, I can't remember what it was, but it was contaminated. Grazon, yeah.
Solids.
So we took one bed, left it as a control, did nothing. We had 3 beds with soil savior. We had 3 beds with my compost extract, and then we did 7 beds with them combined. The 7 beds, germination, you name it, the one where I combined them both, it was off the charts. Now, both his product and my extract both worked, but when you put them together, it was on another level. It was completely on a different level. So what I ended up finding out is that the bacteria, the fungi, nematodes, protozoa, all the stuff that I'm producing here at my farm, combined with those extremophiles and all the other things that are in his product, considering the minerals and salts and everything else that are beneficial, it was like when you mix them together, it's like we got something on steroids here. And folks, you can see the difference. And then, of course, like I said, all of it worked, but when you put them together, they worked. Actually, in all honesty, it didn't hurt my ego to say it. Honestly, your stuff by itself and my stuff by itself, yours actually edged my compost extract. It really did. And if anybody's making better compost around here than me, I don't know who that might be. But your stuff did edge mine, but when you put them together, it was on another level. So, folks,
that's Billy, what you're saying is exactly, I've had a lot of these conversations with people, is they're saying, well, I do composting, I do compost extract, I do all these different things. And I say, that's awesome. You're doing the right thing. How many minerals were in the soil that those plants, as far as the decomposition and the compost that you're creating, how many minerals were in the soil to begin with that is creating that compost? The microbes, awesome. The diversity that you're creating, beautiful. but how many minerals were in there. So if we combine the soil saviors with Billy's nuclear level compost, which is on a whole different level than most people's compost, obviously, you're creating the organic matter for the microbes to live in. You're adding the mineral content to what's already in the compost, and you're just everything coming together, the mycelium and all the other components, and then implementing that onto your ground. You're doing some pretty magical stuff.
Well,
right?
Pat, to that point, I do want to point out this latest experiment I did. I got these wood chips that have been sitting over here forever and a day. And I think I talked to Will about this a while back. All I did, and this was my latest experiment, and I haven't even, I guess people on this podcast are going to hear it first. So all I did was take some wood chips that were very, very old, and they had been out there for, I mean, to the point where they're almost becoming compost. Well, I want a high fungal compost if I'm going to be putting it in a food forest or orchard or something like that. And I said, all I did, instead of adding regular water to it, I just put soil saviors in there. And this stuff is, I have got, we got to look at it under the microscope for sure. But you know how, if you've done this for a while, you can feel, look, and smell compost, and you kind of know what you got before you even look at it under the microscope. And I got a feeling this latest batch, all I did was put soil saviors on it for the most part. I did another batch where I went through a thermophilic process, and I don't think that's even necessary. I think if you just have marginal compost, in fact, I've proven that part already. I bought marginal compost and I poured the soil saviors on it and let it go. And it was some of that compost that they called mushroom compost, highfalutin stuff that they want to charge you a fortune for. I think this one was like maybe $100 for a cubic yard. I get it back here. We looked at it under the microscope. It was awful. All I did was put soil saviors on it, folks. And this stuff was the cat's meow in just out of a couple of weeks. So
this is also the alternative. I get hit up all the time. I've done a bunch of composting videos and stuff, but I get hit up all the time about like not being able to make compost. This is the alternative. This is what I was talking about in that video where I showed the Soil Saviors product, is that like for all of you guys that can't physically or don't have the time or whatever to make compost, you can buy some of the cheap crappy topsoil from the store, inoculate it with the Soil Saviors product, and have a fantastic results. And maybe pick a different method of composting or whatever to get the diversity. But this is like the only alternative that I've seen that actually gets you good soil results.
There was the question that did not get answered there. I think the per acre cost, correct me if I'm wrong, Pat, I think it's $75 an acre. Isn't that
yeah, it's basically $75 an acre per treatment. So that's very inexpensive, especially if it's a garden, which is a quarter acre, a tenth of an acre, whatever. That's the whole reason is, again, the 5 acre box. If you've got a tenth of an acre, well, you've got, for just 1/5 of each one of those, you've got 10 treatments. You've got 50 treatments that are going to last you years. So break that down to, from the full package price of that 5 acre box to each treatment in your garden being a couple bucks, literally, not much money at all to bring that garden to life and make it explode into what I've always called it, a Jurassic garden.
Okay, so then compare that with the cost of using, let's just Miracle Grow right off the shelf. If you were to break that down, and first of all, you're insane to use it after listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
And any of the things we've talked about, I mean, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. You are money. If you were to compare the cost per acre of, let's say, Miracle Grow compared to this, it's going to, nobody ever looks at it this way because they don't sell it typically by the acre. They're counting on the person to go, like William said, with raised beds. It's 5 to 20 times higher. I guarantee. I did the math once upon a time, and I was like, okay, this little box here, good night, man. This thing you can do, what was it? Maybe 100 square feet. That's not very much. Okay, so to do the areas we're talking about, but you're always going to be denuding your soil. That's exactly why you don't ever want to use that stuff. And then you want to be cycling the things. I mean, there's all the things. I'll tell you what, World War II screwed us up in more ways than one. And that's where a lot of this stuff came from. And it's a joy to know that you guys are absolutely working on trying to fix all of the ills that have happened, because, you know, that's when people really got hot on the Haber-Bosch process and using nitrogen-based fertilizers and all these other things, thinking NPK is the answer. Well, it hasn't been the answer, and we've known that for a long, long time. It's soil biology. That's your answer. If you want, like Dr. Will said a minute ago, you want tomatoes that taste fantastic, that's not because of NPK. That's because of soil biology. It's because the exudates from your plant are going down there giving a shopping list to the bacteria and the fungi. They go out and get these awesome things that they need, bring it back to the plant. It bioaccumulates into that fruit, and you eat it, and now you got it. So that's the beauty of this whole system. So, folks,
I have some economics to share for the 40-acre question. Is that okay?
Sure.
So we did a trial a couple of years ago on 20 acres of hay. This is in Oklahoma, northern Oklahoma. They were getting 70 ton of hay prior to using these products. They did 2 applications, and it shot from 70 ton to 148 ton of hay off the same 20 acres with 2 applications. So that box, a 40-acre box, went on 20 acres twice, and it over doubled the ton of hay on that land. So what's the economics per ton when you we're doing 70 ton, now you're doing 148 ton of hay coming in, more nutrient dense, tenderer, you know, and the more yield.
And healthier animals that are eating it.
And healthier, yeah, your livestock. So, but just look at the economics. You've over doubled your ton, your overall quality of ton. So, what's a ton of hay? I'm buying round bales of hay here for $75. They're a little more there, but still, that they're 800-pound bales. So, 70 ton, right? So I'm an 800-pound bale. So you got 3, basically almost 3 bales of hay on per ton for 70. You know, you're going to double that. So you go from 3 to 6. So how much money is that worth? You know, on the economic side of it.
Well,
if you're just looking at hay.
Well, it means everything. When your biggest cost, for animals, and that's one of the things I try to beat, is using methods from Jim Garrish and some of the others out there where you stockpile forage or whatever else, but hay can make and break you. People tend to forget, a lot of the homesteaders out there forget that this is a business at the end of the day. I'm saving money. If this didn't make sense economically, I wouldn't do it. There is nothing that you get more bang for the buck. If you can make compost extract, fine. And like William said, even if you're marginal at it, this is your little cheat code in the video game that you can use to get you across that finish line. So somebody else is asking here, I live in a non-ag neighborhood. My 2 acres is compacted. If I spread this product, will it fix my property?
Well, we don't know what kind of soil that is. You know, we don't know what your management practice is. You're going to have to do something. I mean, there again, is it just a bunch of bunch of fill dirt there that's packed down? You know, Billy was talking about that earlier about management. So, you know, what do you got planted there? If you just spray this stuff on bare ground, you know, miracles. I mean, I'm not promising you miracles here, but it does do some wonderful things. So, you know, that question needs some more information.
Yeah, we need more details.
So is it clay? Is it, you know, what is it? You know, the root systems, what's growing there? Is there cover crop that can die and create topsoil, all those sort of things.
If you can get a cover crop or have something growing and then put this stuff on there, it's for sure going to work to loosen up that soil, just like Billy's demonstration site there. It got really soft, but you got to have something growing there. It can't be just barren dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you can't just put it, it's not ever going to be, look, nature is modest. You never see, if you see a bare patch in nature, it's either poor management or a desert. Typically, or concrete, man's intervention some kind of way or another, but there's never any natural system for the most part that's just going to be bare ground. So if you have that, like Doc is saying there, you want something, even if you were to go Greg Judy and let's say it's all thistles and thorns out there. If you did nothing but seed something and then roll out round bales or something through the winter and then put this product on top, I mean, that's a far better improvement than just putting it on ground. Yeah, we'll need more information for that. Brenda, thank you for the $10. And let's see here.
I got another one, Dad.
Sure.
Okay, so is it a violation of the agreement? I'm thinking of the entrepreneurs that are listening to this podcast. Is it a violation of the agreement to start my own fertility company to buy your guys' product, dilute it accordingly for the raised beds, the landscaping, whatever I'm applying it to, and then starting my own business that way? Is that a violation in the agreement in any way?
No, not necessarily. And if they were smart, they would become an affiliate and sell the products to their customers after they leave, after they're doing, and whatever it is they're doing. And they can say, here's a 5-acre box that you can buy, and you can continue using this fertility program for your property and keep it up the way that it looks now and make it flourish and grow even more. Right. So yeah, there's affiliate opportunities for people to be able to do that if they want.
Gotcha.
And I've got people that have taken those products and bought in some old Chemlon type trucks, and now they're using these products in their trucks, and they're spraying this in neighborhoods on their land, on their around their house, and whatnot as a full-fledged business. The one guy I know, he's over in over by the coast there in North Carolina. He's got 5 trucks, and he's just going through neighborhoods, and he's got, every week they're doing something to their people, their customers, and this is their fertility program that they spray.
That's what I'm talking about. That's a whole lot better than the other programs I see out there, and it usually involves glyphosate or something like it. So we got one last question here, and then we'll get into the giveaway. Does this balance a bacterial dominant soil?
Yes. Yep. And again, there's bacteria, there's fungus, and other organisms in their products as well. So there's over 1,000 strains. The whole thing is, I'm a firm believer in putting the diversity out there, and the balance will happen as the soil dictates or as the plants dictate. I never look at forcing the fungal or a bacterial state, because it'll happen naturally. Because right now, this time of year, you're going to be way more fungal dominant as the leaves and the grasses are dying, just like in the spring. In the summer, you're more bacterial dominant, because the plants need the bacteria for uptake to create the uptake from what the fungus broke down in the spring and last winter. So there's always a balance. There's always a shifting in balance taking place from season to season.
Yeah, and think about I want to bring this up because it's on that point, Will, is the state of Iowa DNR, and this is, when I saw it, I went, here we go. Iowa DNR closed 14 or 16 beaches in the state of Iowa due to E. coli outbreaks in Iowa lakes. Well, we know Iowa is, literally not only the highest rates for what in the nation, but the highest rates now in the world for some particular problems for human beings. So nonetheless, there was a massive E. coli explosion in the lakes in the state of Iowa. Well, what is the runoff coming out of the farm fields? What's coming off of the farm fields? You've got the synthetics. a lot of these issues, the chemicals that are being put down. How does nature fight back? How is nature supposed to digest that? Wow, an explosion in E. coli to break that stuff down and bring the water back to, a level of health. So they put on the headline that it's E. coli, of course, and don't ever really say what the cause is. They only talk about the symptom. They don't talk about the cause.
The boogeyman.
So pay attention to what the cause really is for situations like this, and why you might end up in a gigantic building surrounded by people in white coats, and understand why you're there, because nutrient deficiencies and toxicities, right?
That's what I'm talking about. All right, we're gonna move on in. If we have any other questions, I will direct you to these gentlemen, and
Maybe we can do this again and save up some questions, and we could do this again, Billy.
I was
Yeah.
thinking, Billy, did you make up some questions for people to be able to answer for the person to win?
Yeah, I did. I got one question here, and okay, we're gonna get down to brass tacks here, y'all. We're gonna find out how much
Billy,
you
Billy, I gotta stop you.
Okay.
Because earlier when we were on the phone,
Yeah.
Billy goes, "What are some questions we can ask?" And I start coming up with all kinds of questions. And Billy's like, "No, dude, no, you can't ask those questions. Nobody's gonna get them." And he was getting mad at me, is what he was doing.
No, I wasn't getting mad. I was like, dude, he's like wanting DNA sequences on people. I'm like, dude, hold on, man. This isn't a biochemical.
Let's make it hard. You want to make it a little bit hard? I mean,
I was like,
no, because the reason I'm saying this too is I get so frustrated by people going to AI. They go straight to humans are now programmed to go to AI for answers, right? So a conversation with a guy that hosts a hunting show. It's a big hunting show. I'm not going to say his name, but he's a PhD biologist. PhD, mind you, biologist. And some of the things I was saying, he punched into AI and sent it back to me via email and goes, "That's impossible. AI said it can't happen."
oh
And
my.
I went, so when we talked on the phone, I go, "Hold on a second." I go, "You're a PhD of biology. And so you're asking AI if something's possible, that what I'm talking about?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, I use AI all the time." I go, "This conversation's done. This conversation is done. Goodbye. There's nothing more we have to talk about. Nothing."
Well, not when you're outsourcing your common sense, and then people will. I've had what I thought were reasonably intelligent people. I understand using AI to whatever extent, but I wouldn't trust it. I mean, certainly not for anything of a medical nature. I mean, especially when you know who's controlling the levers of power on all these things.
Sure. And the things that I deliberately will ask it, just it doesn't even know. You can see it searching and searching and searching, and there's no knowledge. It's all been erased, of course, because it's in books from the 1800s, things like that. But AI will search and search, and the dots will keep going and keep going and going, and it goes, "Yeah, we're done. AI's done. We got no answer for you."
No, man. Pat was, hey, folks, you're lucky he didn't come up with a question tonight. 'Cause I'm telling you what, he's in here. I'm over here. I'm looking at the phone like, for real? Like, dude, I don't even know these answers, bro. He's wanting to know what the valence electron structure is on a certain chemical. I'm like, dude, what? I mean, yeah, we're gonna omit Pat's questions. We're gonna go back to some basic permaculture questions. So get ready, folks. First one, Denise says, "When's this thing?" And we're gonna give away a 5-acre box, right?
Yes.
Okay, 5-acre box. And look, folks, we're gonna have a giveaway tomorrow night too in that program. That's gonna be a mobile AC unit or something. I don't usually broadcast on Friday, but these people insisted on that. The ones I'm working with, they thought it would be a great idea to going into the weekend. So if anybody wants to win something tonight, you're going to win the better of the two, in my opinion, because this is a gift that keeps on giving. This is a gift that can feed you, and this is a gift that can do wonderful things. All right, so the question right out of the gates is, first one that answers it wins. What is the prime directive of permaculture? Da, 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 da. Well, yeah, we can go ahead. Denise will let me know whether or not the first one that she sees pop up on the board will be the winner of it. The prime directive of permaculture.
Reese H.
Take responsibility for yourself and your children. Bam. Okay. Reese H. You win. So, okay, email me at billy@permapasturesfarm.com and we'll get you squared away. Reese H. All right.
Nice
Denise
work, Reese.
responded as if she was like in on the competition.
Yeah. So Reese H, yeah, go ahead and email me and then I'll get that information, get you squared away. So thank you so much. Hey guys, I know you're going to be at the Mountain Readiness thing. Do you have any other events coming up?
That's the next one for me. There's some big announcements coming in terms of human health and performance, and some organizations that are launching here pretty quick, which are really exciting. Where that's going to be great platforms for what we're doing here to help get the word out on that sort of stuff that's coming. So I'm certainly excited about that. Will, what do you have coming up?
I don't have anything other than that right now. As in public events, I have several demonstrations that I'm conducting right now. A feeding trial. We're starting a 1 acre trial in a ginkgo biloba plantation in South Carolina, where we're going to be demonstrating how our products raise the terpene and medicinal value content, the terpenes, the Brix readings, the overall volume, because they have a pest problem. 40 years ago, they planted this ginkgo bilobas, and they've been mining the soil consistently. So now we have 40 years of data up until now, and they have a pest problem, and they have a weed pressure problem, and they can't use pesticides. The old-fashioned pesticides, they're using the organic certified ones, but their biggest market is in Europe, and Europe don't allow the organic pesticides from this country to be used over there. And so we're coming in to bring up the nutrient density of the plants, the immune function, and proving out we don't need pesticides and we don't need for bugs, because a healthy plant repels bugs and a healthy soil doesn't grow weeds. So that's what we're doing with that study, and we're just getting that started up. I've got several other environmental cleanup studies and projects around the country going right now, and some oil well stuff, and so, but no public stuff. We're always looking, though. This winter would be good to travel south. Hint, hint.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are definitely in a climate that I don't necessarily want to be in the winter, whether it's West Virginia or North Dakota. No thanks to all of the above, but it'll be cool to be able to hang out with these guys. So look, guys, if you want, here's what sucks about this program is that we only gave you half of the components, okay? They got a whole different, a whole different array of topics that we can't even cover in terms of human health. We were able to cover it before, but folks, I can't even touch it here. So if you want to go out to Mountain Readiness and talk to these guys directly, and are you guys going to have product out there as far as for humans as well as soil? You're going to have both out there?
Yes. And you want to leave a link for people to go to your link for with Cell Saviors? Do you want to do that as well on this, or do you want what would you like to do, Billy, for that?
Yeah, we can do that down below. We can have Michelle add it to the link. I mean, right now, if you get anything from Soil Saviors, you can go to the bottom of the link here or in the description box. Take that link; it'll get you over there. Usually, we have a discount code or something like that, but it's already kind of baked into the cake if you just use that link, as I understand.
Good. Okay. Yeah. No, it'll go straight back to Bill. Support the cause, all that sort of stuff, and we're just ultimately we just like to spread our truth, that we found over the last 50 years on this planet, right? And what we've seen the biggest results and the best results from through a lot of observation after using certain things, right? So that's what it comes down to.
All right, son. Anything to add here?
No, I'm all excited now. I want to go start healing places and when I start reclaiming some Superfund sites.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're all about, y'all.
Yeah.
We're doing some big work here. These guys are doing yeoman's work, and I'll tell you what, there's a whole lot that goes on with these pair of gentlemen that they do that is unsung hero kind of work. I mean, things that they don't even tell anybody about. So, folks, it is a joy to be able to partner up with these guys, but better still, it is even a bigger joy to know that their stuff works like nothing else I've ever done before. I mean, cleaning up an area that probably should have been called a Superfund site in about 3 months, but it was so far over the top that I didn't even tell anybody that we hit the finish line. So here we are, y'all, a year later, actually a year and about a week, almost to the day of when that hurricane went off out here. And in that whole site out there, ours, the ones we did collectively, okay, that's the only clean site out there. It's probably better than it has been in living memory. All right, y'all, go check them out. You're going to be glad you did. Go check them out in Mountain Readiness if you want to see them in person. You know the deal, y'all. Until next time, stay alert.
Stay alive.
That run deep, wisdom from Saul, and permaculture dream. Let the ideas unfold. I'm grooving with the truth. Feeling nature's groove. Who's got the answers? All we need to do. Listen to the earth, they got us through. Let's see the change, what the world's been. From the smallest sprout to harmony begin. In the cycle of life, where the magic's alive. To the